Shalom. This is Brother Bar Ra from GMS Chicago. I want to give all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai and double honor to the elders, GMS in New York. This site is going to be called GMS Ripped from the Headlines, where I'll be breaking down some news articles that I find interesting. Because the devil loves to put things right in your face, and he like to use keywords to really push and explain his agenda, but sometimes it goes over our people's head. The first article is from the Daily Caller, and it's called "See What They'll Be Teaching in Chicago Public Schools." Okay? It says, Chicago Public Schools are set to introduce a new Afrocentric curriculum, according to a closely guarded copy obtained by the Daily Caller News Foundation. So I guess someone sent them, or they had someone on the inside find out what the new curriculum is going to be for CPS, Chicago Public Schools. And it says the curriculum covers kindergarten through 10th grade and is designed to align with Common Core. Now, Common Core is probably something you've been hearing in the news or probably read in the newspaper, which is basically something Esau has advised to. Basically, it's an education initiative to have common standards across every U.S. state. So regardless of what school or you go to in whatever state, they're going to be teaching the same thing. So it's basically just indoctrination. And it says it's going to align with Common Core. It includes a web link to this website. It's called theafrican.com. Now that is what really struck me about this article, because when I went to theafrican.com, it has some truths in that website, which they plan to teach students in the Chicago Public Schools. Three notable ones are that the Negroes are Israelites, which is true. It talks about end time prophecy, and it goes into who the Edomites are, but they go off and they just say the Edomites are the Jews today, or the people calling themselves Jews, to be more on point. Okay. The website, whose publisher decries fake Jews and calls the United States a Zionist occupied enemy territory, which is true, because it lines up the scripture. They are fake Jews. You can check out Revelations 2, verse 9, and also the word speaking life into existence is Psalm 64 and 8. Their tongue is fallen upon themselves. So why would you teach in Chicago Public Schools, which has a lot of Israelites, the Latinos, Native Americans, and so-called Negroes? Why would you teach them that the Jews that say they are Jews are fake? And why would you teach them to go to a site called theafrican.com, which are going to tell you that the Negroes are Israelites? This seems to have some kind of alternative motive. I'm thinking race war is what's jumping out to me. But we'll continue. The site also claims that the world will end sometime this year, and President Barack Obama is merely another trick of the beast or the fourth kingdom. So President Barack Obama is a puppet. They just put him in there to calm down everything after Bush. And when you look into Daniel, the second chapter, the fourth beast, which is the Roman Empire, and USA is the reincarnation of the Roman Empire. So it is some more truth that these students are going to be learning in actual Chicago Public Schools. And it says the new Chicago curriculum was announced last December. CPS has taken great pride in developing a year-long interdisciplinary African and African American Studies program that will enrich the understanding and appreciation of African and African American history and culture to help build stronger and more cohesive student communities. Now, this is basically talking out of both sides of their mouth. If everything that they're saying is going to be in this curriculum, this is just going to be more divisive. Like I said, this is going to push more for race wars. Once you hear the truth divides. It doesn't bring people together. It says Chicago Public School Chief Executive Bird Bennett announced the curriculum dubbed the IAAS, okay, which stands for African American or African American History Standard Curriculum. The CPS began developing IAAS after a push last year from groups that wanted to implement a state law passed in 1990 that required public schools to offer 1 unit of African American history. But CPS went above and beyond, implementing the curriculum across all core disciplines, which include literacy, mathematics, science, social science, arts, physical education, and health. So I guess what this article is saying, because white people always complain about better yet, Edomites complain about so-called Black History Month. Now they're trying to push this in every so-called class, whether it be math, science, or whatnot. You're going to be learning something about so-called African American history. Okay? It says the law said it has to be 1 unit devoted to the history of African Americans, which we're not African Americans. If you actually know your history, we're Israelites, okay, who fled into Africa and was in Africa, basically a lot of the west coast of Africa, when the Edomites came and put us in what you was called modern day slavery here in Americas. So that's another term they're gonna keep pushing, even though they're saying that at the beginning of the article that when you go to this website, which they're going to teach in the classroom, that the Negroes are Israelites. So it's kind of double-minded. But it says, CPS Chief Officer of Teaching and Learning told Chicago Tribune in 2013, what we've done is we've taken it throughout the year for all subjects, not just one subject. So they restated that fact. But some of the subjects, including those discussed at theafrican.com, are heavily controversial. The Chicago curriculum topic discussed at theafrican.com is, I guess it's a book called The Black Athena, written by a historian, Martin Burnell. Now, this Martin Burnell guy, he's a so-called white man. He's an Edomite. And it says that the 6th and 9th grade Chicago students will discuss the book, and accompanying the book will be full-length YouTube documentary. So they're going to read this book and they're going to watch. I guess this guy has a documentary on YouTube. In the work of Burnell, he claims that the ancient Greeks stole much of civilization from Egypt. Okay? Now, this is what they're calling controversial, which is true. They did take over Egypt, especially Ptolemy. He took over and became and reigned over Egypt and called himself a pharaoh and took a lot of the customs. So that's why today you got idiots saying that or the white people are Egyptians, when that is just plain false. If you did any research, you could there's something called the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary, and you can look up the word Ham, which will tell you that Ham became the progenitor of the dark races, and one of those dark races of Hamites are the Egyptians. But it tells you not the Negroes, which mean we are not Hamitic, we are Shemitic. So that goes all the way back to the beginning point that the Jews are fake. So that is something that they say is controversial, but it's the truth, you know. But it says the Greeks stole much of civilization from Egypt, which they did, you know. The scriptures tell you in John 10 and 10, what the wicked does. Steal, kill, and destroy. So that's a good scripture right there for you brothers to check out. And it says, Burnell asserts that Greeks stole much of civilization from Egypt, was populated by blacks, which is very controversial, which I don't see how Egypt being in Africa and populated by blacks is controversial. See, they want you to believe lies, Akim. They want you to believe that the white man was every civilization, they were every nation, and they did everything, which is a bald-faced lie. It's basically indoctrination. Okay, it tells you that in the scriptures that Moses was mistaken for the Egyptian. So Moses was a dark-skinned man. He was not a red-faced, pale devil. Okay. All right. And it says the Chicago curriculum entertains rebuttals to Burnell's theory, but skews heavily in its favor. Right, they have to skew in its favor because it's the truth. The truth eventually, in some form or fashion, has to come out. Now, Esau is going to throw a lot of bones within that curriculum, still call you African while saying you're Israelite at the same time. So this is going to be in Chicago public schools, which is crazy. I can't believe they're actually going this far, seeing that they have pretty much media blackout on the Israelites, so to speak. All right. It says, as a historian and an educator, I am very troubled by the notion of students in Chicago City school spending 5 weeks on Bernard's ideas. Now, this is a guy that made this statement. Is a guy named Ron Fritz, a historian at Athena State University. And he has a book called Invented Knowledge. See, anything that goes against the white man's agenda is so-called invented knowledge. It didn't happen. So that's what you have to understand with what's going on in these school systems is that only certain books, authors, reading materials, are going to be allowed. So if your kid is in that school or in a public school, which most are, they only going to get somebody's version of the truth. All right. And it says that this guy thinks that his theories, Bernal's theories, the guy that wrote this book, Black Athena, are not historically accurate and have no place in Chicago schools. All right. This is how most Edomites feel. I think they're going to push this, and there's going to be a big, a lot of students that of students that are not so-called minorities in this country, or Israelites, so to speak, Edomites. They're going to get pissed off over this curriculum. It's probably going to be protests. All right. To bring more of a division, because ultimately the elites know that this country is heading down, and they're bringing this country down. It's going to be destroyed. So what better way is to have everybody pointing fingers at each other before they ultimately destroy it? Everything has an agenda when you read the news. Everything. It says his ideas are outliers of scholarship and have been largely discredited. So what they're saying about this Burnell guy is anything he write is discredited among other scholars. And Fritz noting that a few scholars from Egypt or even China and Japan subscribe to Burnell's theories. So now they'll say they're theories. But anytime the white man get on TV and tell you how the earth is billions or millions or a certain number, we just supposed to believe it, right? We can't say that what he's doing is a theory also. Why? Because it doesn't fit in his agenda. All right. Fritz says that while most of Burnell's critics have proven expertise in classical studies, ancient history, and Egyptology, most of his supporters were not specialized in those fields. So they did the research for, I guess, this guy's book, Black Athena, and he's citing those guys that did the research in classical studies and ancient history, but they saying that they have no credibility. All right. So basically, if you don't believe what go to the white man approved institutions, you don't have credibility. You can never. That's what's wrong with our people too, because our people, when they see us on the street pushing this word, basically say we have no credibility. But they thought that about the apostles too, and I'm gonna read a scripture just to back that up. This is the book of Acts, chapter 4, verse 13. Now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John and perceived that they were unlearned and ignorant men. So when they see us talking about that the Israelites are the Hispanics, the so-called North American Indian and so-called Negro, they looked at us as ignorant and unlearned. But we back it up with history, and most importantly, we back it up with the scriptures. All right? To prove who the Israelites are today. And it says, now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John and perceived that they were unlearned and ignorant men, they marveled. They took knowledge of them, that they had been with Yahushua. So they looked at them first and thought they were unlearned and ignorant, but eventually they presumed that they were with the Lord, so they knew what they were talking about. Back to the article. Now, it says Chicago fifth graders will be exposed to another controversial and widely criticized theory in Ivan Van Sertima's They Came Before Columbus. Van Sertima, who taught at Rutgers University, now this is a big university, Rutgers, theorized that Africans populated the Americas well before Columbus. Well, there were plenty of Israelites here well before Columbus. So that's not something that should be viewed as extreme or something that should be viewed out the ordinary. That's common knowledge. But in the white man's eyes, anything he says has to go. So, and it says that but critics largely panned the work. In 1977 New York Times book review, archaeologist Glenn Daniel called Van Sertima's work ignorant rubbish and labeled it myth and folklore. So when you read Second Ezra, the 13th chapter and the 40th verse, it tells you about the 10 tribes coming over here. All right. So that's backs up all the archaeology, the scripture about the earth helping the woman, to back up and support that yes, the Israelites were over here before Columbus brought his red ass over here. That is a true statement, and it's not ignorant rubbish, or it's not myth and folklore. All right. So see, that's what the white man like to do. He like to demonize anything that doesn't fit his agenda. That's what he likes to do, demonize it. And I'm kind of can't believe that they're going to be teaching this in school. This is something you usually got to go look up these authors and read it for yourself. So this is just another sign, Akim, that this place is out of here, man. You would never have this even being discussed anywhere inside the school, you know, before time. And it says Fritz is critical of this as well. He's critical of this book also. He says, I and most historians of exploration consider They Came Before Columbus to be very wrong in its contentions about African voyages to Americas, he told the Daily Caller. But even when you look in the book of First Kings, I believe the 10th chapter, it talks about Solomon. He sent Hiram, who were Hamites, over to the Americas. It was a 3-year trip. He sent them back and forth, and they brought back, I believe, peacocks, apes, I think gold, wood, all kind of stuff. So the scriptures back that up also. So yeah, Hamites did come over here well before Columbus. So that's another true statement. All right. And it says, I and most historians of exploration consider they came before Columbus to be very wrong in its contentions about African voyages to Americas. Nevertheless, the IAAS curriculum provides a unit of work that includes links to the YouTube series. Laid out in the curriculum are pictures with arrows drawn to help guide teachers' lessons. One asks, is the water under the boat telling us that these people traveled over the ocean from a place with pyramids? So yeah, you can travel over the ocean. You can get to the ocean. You can take the Red Sea into the ocean. So that's nothing but propaganda and more demonization. CPS initially denied the Daily Caller's request for a copy of the curriculum made last year, citing the fact that the curriculum was still in the preliminary draft. So basically, a lot of Edomites are going to complain and try to get this stopped from actually being taught in the school. But Lord willing, this is taught, and it opens some of our people up to the fact that there's other truths except for what the white man tells you, so to speak, so they can eventually, the elect, get out of this world and get into the mindset of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. It says, but last December, Bird Bennett made a presentation using slides from the IAAS curriculum. State open record laws require officials to release records of preliminary drafts, but those records have been discussed in public forums. So this is how they get, I guess, this website, the Daily Caller, got the information, because they have to make it an open record for the preliminary draft of whatever curriculum they want to teach in the schools for the following year. The Chicago curriculum does focus heavily on well-established history and events. Let's see what these well-established history and events are, including slavery, the history of black inventors, the civil rights movement, and, of course, President Obama. So this is some of the approved agenda for basically the conditioning of the so-called Negroes and Latinos and Native Americans. You're going to hear about slavery, black inventors, and the civil rights movement, and how glad and great and how much you should be thankful for the white man letting you live in his society. So you're going to hear more bullshit. So this is basically reinforcement, okay? So they want to reinforce their lies, which is conditioning, okay? So when I looked up that word for conditioning, a guy named Ivan Pavlov was a scientist who really worked on getting conditioning subjects, animals, people, for something called a predictable response. So anytime you hear something that's not you're not supposed to hear, outside of what the white man wants you to hear, you get a predictable response, which is, oh, that can't be true. That has to be fake. That's not real. I would have heard of it before. So you can see that's in full effect today with the zombies wandering around. Okay. And it says, but other sections also delve into controversial areas. The 8th grade literacy section, titled Being an Advocate to Social Justice, directs students to the website of the American Civil Liberties Union, and also includes a poem titled Racism is Around Me Everywhere, cartoons from the website Lefty Cartoons, and it encourages discussion of Attorney General Eric Holder's infamous Nation of Cowards quote. The 9th grader literacy section encompasses study of the Pan-African movement. So they're going to tell you you're Israelite, the Jews are fake, uh, tell you about how the Greeks stole everybody's history, but then they're gonna tell you about the Pan African movement, which is bullshit on top of it. So they're gonna keep you double minded. It says teachers are encouraged to engage their students in debate over voluntary segregation, which is basically you want to be with your own tribe or your own people, which is something that is already in the scriptures. All right. Have someone read the following resolution: resolve voluntary segregation promotes growth in a diverse community, which is another comment speaking out of both sides of the mouth. Esau is the devil, man. He's teaching both sides, which is going to lead people just basically confused. All right. 10th graders are introduced to critical race theory, which holds that institutional racism and white privilege are pervasive throughout society, which it is. You read the book of Psalms 73rd chapter, it tells you, man, the dominant nation ruling right now, Esau, have more than their eyes could wish for. You know, they're not in trouble as other people. Their grasp is strong. So everything from whether it's banking institutes or school, higher learning, is ran and run by the Edomites, who show privilege to someone that looks like them. So that's a true statement. But once again, Edomites are outraged by it. Anytime the truth come out, Edomites are always outraged. But that's just one article of Lord willing, hopefully of many to come. And it's called "See What They'll Be Teaching in Chicago Public Schools." All right. I want to say shalom to the Akim. Lord willing, be back with another article soon. Shalom.